Welcome back to Takabolo Gaming. My name is indeed Takabolo, and we are going to continue our tutorial today with the second part and final part, I think, of war in EU4. Now, last time we talked about preparing for war. That is an extremely important thing to be doing in Europa Universalis 4. You always want to be ready for the next war. We talked about making sure our forts are in the right places, so I've got a fort being built in mountainous terrain because that's a lot better than farmlands, where this fort currently is. And then I've got a fort in my capital. You want to have that. And then, let's see, so I will want to eventually, when I have the gold, I want to move this from grasslands to something else in the area. There is a highlands right here. So that would be a thing. I might move this one over here. This one is in highlands. That's great. This one is in woods, and it's on the strait. Both of those are very important. Like I said, if you see these little red dots, it means that there is a strait crossing. And I cannot cross this strait if I don't control both sides, if there is an enemy navy in this little thing here, the Sea of Marina. So right now, both sides could move across, but if I pull this navy out and Byzantium can't defeat the navy, then they would not be able to cross over here. Having the fort here makes it so that they can't really siege that, right? Even if their navy came out here, which we're going to hopefully have that situation later in the video here, I can cross over here because I own both Erdene and Biga. But I could not cross here because I don't own Constantinople. I hope that makes sense. In the previous episode, I also built up to my force limit and set myself up next to Byzantium's allies and vassals, trying to lower the amount of troops that will be involved in any future conflict. Honestly, this 3 probably doesn't matter, but we're going to try and jump on them and show some of that mechanics as quickly as we can. I'm going to let this 8 stack kind of do what it wants for a little while. And then once Wallachia is out, then we'll fix whatever it did and take care of it. That's kind of the general battle plan. You always want to have a plan for what you're going to do, at least at the start. So if I were to attack, say, Hungary, I know that they have Austria and Florence. Austria is the biggest thing there. I don't want anything from Austria, so my battle plan might well be to just get through Hungary as quick as I can, hop on Austria, and get them out of the war as quickly as I can. Then I'll worry about everything else. Kind of what I'm doing here. Maybe my plan, if I were fighting Karaman, would be to deal with Karaman and deal with their allies later. I don't know, but you always want to have some sort of plan. If I were to attack Albania right now, I actually have a Reconquest CP on them, but Venice would join, right? But this guy here, Skanderberg, is a 3-star general. He's really, really good, and if I could jump on this army and get rid of that army and not allow Albania to build up any more troops, then I could remove this general from the field of battle, and that would really, really help me later on. So that might be a thing that I would be wanting to do, is to jump on that. I hope that makes some sense. So we are going to actually declare war in this episode. So we're going to conquest CB. That's the one we have against Byzantium, but that would be the one I would want to choose anyway. We could go down here and click no CB if I really wanted to, but I don't really want to. You don't want to have aggressive expansion if you can help it, and obviously you want to have all stability and no war exhaustion. So we have a claim. We're going to use that claim. We're going to take Constantinople. We're going to confirm, and we are at war. So there are a few things that you can do. I know that Athens honored their alliance day 1 because they're vassal. They have to. So I now have military access through anyone I have that I'm at war with. I could not march into Athens before, but now I can. And so I'm going to try and march in and take out that 3 troops right here as quickly as possible. Wallachia is not in the war. They have received a call from Byzantium, they have sent a messenger over saying, hey, please help me. So tomorrow or the next day, Wallachia will join in the war, but they haven't yet. And boom, there they are. So now their forts appear. And so, you want to at least kind of check and see where are these forts. I'm going to try and get on the forts as quickly as possible. What gives you a war score is, for starters, what you claimed, right? So if you go down here, this is the indication where you're at war and who you're at war with. There could be several of these if you declare a bunch of wars or people declare on you. It tells you how many troops you have versus how many troops they have combined. And this, if you had any allies, that would show up here as well. There's the navy counts. They actually have a larger navy than me. Galleys and light ships and heavies. In the sea areas, like this, or up here in the Sweden areas over here, and technically in the channel over here. In this area right here, this is a sea. I don't know if the Gulf that matters too. In those provinces, as you can see, it is an inland sea, so galleys are more effective in inland seas. So you want to have galleys if you're fighting here. You want to have heavy ships, though, if you're fighting out in the ocean, or light ships are good for trading. Now you can see here that this 8 stack is trying to get onto the fort in Cacelli. If I were to bring him out here, then now he stops because he can't cross the strait. That's what I was talking about, and he'll probably turn around and go up here. I'm going to leave my army out there. Now I did not catch this 3 stack, and so now I'm just sieging down Athens. The point was to get that 3 stack, right? I don't care about this. I want to get Wallachia out of the war as quickly as possible. So I'm going to actually not siege Athens, but I'm going to pull back up to Wallachia, and I'm going to bring my full army on the ally to get them out. If you go to the page here, which is just a left click on the flag down here, the main war goal, the war leader, they can negotiate for everyone. If I have peace with Byzantium, that's the end of the war. Excuse me as I need water. If you go down, you can see a dove with an X through it, which tells me that I cannot negotiate peace with that country. There are many different reasons that dove might appear. The primary reason would be they're a vassal of somebody else in the war. So I have to negotiate with their overlord if I want to get anything from Athens. However, there might be other things. I didn't talk about co-belligerents. There might be some other things. So here, this red flag indicates that they're not a co-belligerent in the war, so taking provinces from them would cost twice as much. But that's only provinces. It's cost the same for gold or for, breaking of alliances, any of the things that you can get from that. There is not, however, a dove, so I can peace with Wallachia. It takes a month. I think I have to be at war a month in order to negotiate any kind of peace, but I can peace with Wallachia. If I did declare a war, I can't start another war within the first month. I just need to get the month over. You are moving, right? Yes. Okay. So now, let's see if... Okay, so they're not going anywhere. They're going to sit on Constantinople. They're going to make me come. Now, Wallachia has a 2-star general. They have a 3-3-3, which is better than my 4-2-1. But this siege pip matters here. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's see. Let me just get to where I can declare another war. Okay. So, I can't make Karaman a co-belligerent, which would be this button here, because I have a truce with them. But if I flip that around, I could make Kandar a co-belligerent. That makes them able to call in their allies, as well as the nation I'm declaring war on, calling in their allies. That's the biggest difference, is that now if Kandar had any other allies, they would be involved. So, for instance, I talked earlier about if I wanted to declare war on Florence, in order to get to war with Hungary without bringing in a bunch of other people, which isn't a big deal with Austria, but, you know, is what it is. Then now this war could involve Milan, Venice, and Utrecht. If I don't co-belligerent, then it doesn't involve Savoy's allies, but it costs a lot more to take land from Savoy. The idea being that you're kind of having to declare, who am I going to take land from in the midst of this war at the beginning of the war. And whoever you're trying to take land from has the right to call in their friends to keep you from taking land from them. The largest things for war score are forts and especially capitals. So if I can take this province, right, just occupying it gives me some war score. I guess it doesn't give me anything. I have a 0. Just being on it does give me some benefit, but if I can occupy it, if I can win the siege, then I get a bunch of war score with Wallachia as well as with the war leader. But it's the one with Wallachia that we really care about. I also get war score from, in this case, from blockading. However, they own Constantinople. So right now, my ticking war score is negative because they own the war goal. The war goal was to take Constantinople. So right now they are ticking war score in their direction for taking Constantinople. The blockade is so heavy because it's 59% of their development. Blockades normally don't give that much war score. Taking the war goal, big time war score. Taking a capital, taking a fort, big time war score. If I were to siege this province, it's not going to give me very much, but it is what it is. Now, I guess I can get on there. Normally I should not be able to get on there because this fort would block me. Forts project something called a zone of control. And so if I'm coming in from the south and I get to this province, I should have to go over to this fort until the fort falls. But because I can walk around it from this province to this province to this one, I can get, around that fort. So if I were Wallachia, I might actually put my fort here and here. Everything's farmlands up here. I might try and put forts around here just so that no one can get to my capital without taking one of those two forts first. But I can just hop right on the capital, so I will. Let me get my army up there and I can better show what I'm going to be looking at. This is your % chance to take the fort. That's kind of over here. So right now, at the end of the siege tick, which is here, each siege phase is 29 days. It's base of 30, but my siege ability is at 0.8. That is because I have 8 spy network. Spy network, if you're at war with a nation that has spy network, that you have a spy network in, that increases your siege ability and lowers the amount of time it takes to get to the next tick. At each tick, so right now 8 days left, we roll a dice. In my last roll, it was a 13. And so that results in this case, it would result in a food shortage and would move the siege progress up. So the phase progress, we've done 4, it looks like, and I have increased it by 4. So that increases there, right? A food shortage is +2, a water shortage would be +3, defender's desert is +1, a supply shortage is +1. If we get a snake eyes, if we get a 1, then that produces a disease outbreak, and it doesn't, I think it actually lowers the siege status. So our roll is, I think, like 0 to 6, and then plus the siege status, and then the leader siege. Remember, this one had a 1 siege, so that is here, and so that would be another 1 gets rolled to the die. And then if we had any artillery, which we don't have that technology yet, but if we had any artillery, if I had 1 artillery right now, that would give +1. If I had 4 artillery, that would give +2 to each roll. If it were on a sea tile, then having it blockaded would give me, I think it's either doesn't decrease it or it actually gives me something, but if I don't have it blockaded and it's on the sea, then, you know, they can get supplies in from the sea. So that would lower our number. The fort level, in this case, it is a level 2 fort. Lowers it by 1. If it's a level 1 fort, like this one, it's by 1. So later in the game, you can upgrade your forts to, let's see, there's buildings here, right? Nope. There it is, buildings. Later in the game, if you get to military tech level 14, you can upgrade your fort to level 4, and that presumably would give a 2 to this. Might even give a 3 to it, I don't know. It is much harder to siege late game forts than it is early game forts, right? If the walls breach, this would go up. If you have enough artillery, I think it's like 2 for this level of fort, you could force a wall breach with your military points. But any time there is a chance that you could get, I think it's 14, and that will break the wall. The little modifier here, right there, will change to this looking thing, and it just says a wall breach. And that's another thing on your die. So if I rolled a 3, let's say, then it would be 3 plus 4 for 7, plus 1 would be 8, plus 0 is 8, plus 0 is 8, minus 1 is 7. It would be a 7, and so that would be under supply shortage. And supply shortage gives me a plus 1 to the siege. So the next time around, that would be 5, and, you know, we go up. When you get a roll that is over 10, okay, so the die is 1 to 14, so they're at the top. When you get a roll that is over 20, then you win the siege. Right now, that can't happen, because even if I got a 14, that's the wall breach, right? If you roll 14 without any of this stuff, that's the wall breach. So if I got a 14, I would get a wall breach, but it would be 14, 18, 19, 18, that's not a 20. So I can't win the fort on this roll, but I might be able to on the next one, right? I can increase this, I might get a wall breach. There are things that could move this higher. This one, I don't have any of that down here. So if I rolled a 14, it would actually be a 13 right now. So I don't have any of the benefits of anything there. And so as you can see, I have a 0% chance of winning, but we just keep going, and in 26 days, we'll update and we'll move forward. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that you are getting attrition every time you are sieging an enemy province. So in this case, I lose, I think I lose an amount. So I will lose some manpower at the monthly tick. Right now it's 8,765. I gain 273 per month, but if I lose some, then it might go down. It's going up right now because I'm not losing enough. So what you want to do is you might want to just take some army off of that. So if you click the army, it'll pull up this tab. If you click this create new unit, you can create a new unit. You can click this to move all of an infantry over, or all of cavalry, or you can do this here. I like to not have cavalry because it costs money. It costs a lot more money to reinforce cavalry than it does to reinforce infantry. I like to not have cavalry sitting on a siege taking that attrition. And then if you have cavalry, you want that much infantry. So I'm going to move the cavalry and the infantry over here, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one, except I have 3 that is needed. So I'm going to do that. Now, so I got disease outbreak. I got a 1. Yay. If I roll a 1, then none of this matters. It's a disease outbreak, and we just go again. So that didn't decrease at all. We still have a negative 7% chance. By the way, this is a level 3 fort. So it's a capital fort plus I have my fort here. You can see it's got a phase progress modifier from the fort level is -3 instead of the -1 from only having one of those options, right? This is just a capital fort, this is just a fort, or just a castle. And then also we have it is not being besieged or blockaded, so that's a -2. So for them, right, they have a -71. And you can tell that it's going to go very slow for them, because even if they rolled a 14 right now, we would have 5 get taken off of it. So they don't have that strong of a chance to actually increase their thing. So each siege tick, which for them is still 30 days because they don't have a good spy network on me, each siege tick is not that great of a chance of actually moving the siege forward. Whereas for me, I have an almost guarantee of at least moving the siege forward and creating things better. Now over here, they are sieging something of mine down. They're sieging down Yanya. And that's not a huge problem, but you can see that I get 0.35 from this territory. Also, there is 7.7 ducats worth of loot in here, so if they were to sit on it after they occupy it, they could theoretically take this 7.7 into their coffers if they wanted. So let's go ahead and they now control that, so I now lose that money. So we have some devastation, so the money goes down a little bit, but this money is now going to them because they own it. I think that's how it works. So it's now going to Byzantium, not to me. So that's important to note if you're financing your wars. Otherwise, to note, if I want to go here, I can't just come across this fort because it's in the zone of control of this one. A capital fort, just a capital fort, doesn't project a zone of control. So I actually would have to go all the way around. I have to go here, and then here, and then here, and then here in order to get to here, right? If I can go here, but I can't go here, I would have to go to this fort. Once this falls, then that zone of control becomes for me, and I could then just go straight across. Hope that is making sense. It doesn't make a ton of sense to many people, but is what it is. So now we own these provinces, and so now if I go to sue for peace with Wallachia, I have 6 war score with Wallachia because I own those 2 provinces. I only have 7 with the war leader, and again, it's actually worth a lot less, right? Because for the war leader, it's everything in the war. For Wallachia, it's just Wallachia. So each one of these occupations is worth 1.1 in Byzantium's mind, but in Wallachia, the other way I can do this is to left-click here and get to here. In Wallachia's mind, it's worth 3.2 because it's a lot more of their land, and that's all they care about in this war. I have a new heir to the throne. Hooray. So as we can see here, they're still at -49. I have moved all the way up to +35, +49 now. This is really unlucky. I'm going to go ahead and move down here, and I'm going to try and show these guys who's boss down here. So we have won this siege. We have won the siege of Gujaru. So now that is mine, and now we can see we have 38, right? So this little province is worth 3.2. This, with the fort, is worth 32. 10 times as much. And now, if I wanted to, I could move this guy right on through, and it would go just fine. But we're going to keep him moving down here because I want to worry about that. So my goal with Wallachia was just to get them out, right? So now, when I sue for peace, they will join. Right, they will peace out. They have 73 reasons to peace out and 68 not to. Allies don't like to peace out of wars, and nations don't like to peace out early. So you can see down here, length of war. It's been a short war so far. Things are, still up in the air, maybe. So there's 39 reasons not to peace out because it's very, very early, right? But they know that they can't fight me militarily. Actually, that should be positive. I don't know why, but -10 ally in war, and -5 for owning their capital is big, right? So that 32 is there, but if I were to take their capital, it would be even more, right? But they'll get out. But let's say I wanted money from them. Let's say I wanted land, right? Normally I would be able to just take them, right? But because we didn't co-belligerent them, it costs twice as much to take anything from them. So you can see here war score for all of this stuff. It would cost 45 war score just to take their capital. If I were to try and take anything from them, now suddenly no, because the current peace offer, that's a lot to give up. I don't want to give up yet. There's still a chance, right? So they're not going to do that. But if I keep going, they might. So I'm going to move him over here, even though he's got the siege pip. So theoretically, put him on the capital, right? So I'm going to actually move him here. Now, I've got to wait for him to get here. Otherwise, I lose all the progress. This 2, all the progress from the siege. But as soon as he arrives, that 1 siege pip moves us ahead. So now it's a -27, or 21%. And I can move my guy over to here. Now, they're running away from this army, which is understandable. So we're going to move him right over here. Now, this general, it's only a 1-1-2, but, you know, I kind of think he might be beneficial in any kind of battle I might want to have. Now, I could take this army and march it all the way down here, but that doesn't sound like any kind of fun at all. So, if this army were in territory that I owned and occupied at that moment, then I could just move the general directly in. So we're going to move him over here. Now this gets this red bar. I could actually move him, since he is in territory I own, because I occupy that province, and this army is in territory I own, because I occupied that province. I can just move him. And now suddenly he's over here. And this works across the world, right? He could be in London, and I could move him to India. Just in the click of a button, and then move him right back. Not my favorite mechanic, but it is a mechanic. But now, if I wanted to do it again, he's now in a province I don't own, so now I can't move him, right? Because he's in a territory that is hostile to me. So I would have to take this back in order to move him. I am going to move this guy down here, though.